Today's episode is supported by AIDS-Free Pittsburgh. There are more than 5,000 people living with HIV in southwestern Pennsylvania, and the Ryan White HIV/AIDS program provides support services to help them get the care they need. That includes assistance with things like healthcare, medications, housing, transportation, food, and treatment for substance use disorders. Visit aidsfreepittsburgh.org to learn more.
CityCast Pittsburgh is supported today by the Heinz History Center and their newest exhibition, Pittsburgh's Hidden History. It is a cornucopia of curiosity, a magical menagerie of memory, and a little bit of this and that. There are flowery couches, relics from Kennywood, even a collection of shivs. If you listen to this show a lot, you know we are loving this. It is truly mind-boggling to see how the curators brought together such a wide range of rarely seen artifacts to tell Pittsburgh stories like never before. To buy your tickets and learn more, visit HeinzHistoryCenter.org. Today on CityCast Pittsburgh, we have been talking all about the races coming up on Election Day. That's November 4th. And of course, that includes the next mayor of Pittsburgh. Y'all, we talked to all the candidates ahead of the spring primary. And this week, we're revisiting a couple of them, the winners of those primaries, Democrat Corey O'Connor and Republican Tony Moreno. Today, we are bringing back Moreno's pitch for mayor. He is a retired Pittsburgh police detective who served for more than 20 years here. And this is his second time running for mayor. It's Wednesday, October 15th. I'm Megan Harris, and here's what Pittsburgh's talking about. Mr. Moreno, thank you for joining us here on CityCast Pittsburgh.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
So tell us, what do you think the city's biggest challenge is right now?
Obviously, it's public safety. I had no idea we were going to be at this point this time around. The last time I ran for mayor, everybody wanted to talk to me because I was a retired police detective. And for me, that's just been my life for almost 30 years is law enforcement. So it's not an issue. I see what the problems are, and they're easily taken care of if they just do it. I look at all the issues that lead to the crime that I was fighting as a crime fighter. You do police work and they tell you if you perform this way on the back end, you'll see results and it'll be better. After 24 years of doing police work, I realized the system doesn't work that way. It doesn't matter what they tell. It doesn't matter what we do. Those problems will always be there. And what I've seen on the political end is we're not addressing the causes of crime in our neighborhoods. We're just following it.
When you ran for mayor in 2020 against now sitting mayor Ed Gainey, what was it then and maybe what is it now that makes you think that this is the moment for your leadership? And what is it about our crime problem, as you put it, that you would like to address?
The last time I worked in the Pittsburgh Police Department was 2016, January 13th, 2016. I was coming to the end of my career anyways, but once I retired, I started reflecting backwards. When you get into this law enforcement world, you become insulated. It's a subculture. Whether you want to be part of it or not, you're part of it. I don't necessarily fit in because I'm just a little bit different. I'm not from here first, so that creates a different kind of world. But
I didn't realize you just said off mic that you're an LA native.
Yes, I'm from LA, Whittier, California. It's exactly 21 miles south of the LA airport and 15 miles inland of Huntington Beach.
But you came to Pittsburgh many years ago now.
1994. I joined the Army after high school. I became a paratrooper. I went to Fort Bragg, North Carolina. That's near Myrtle Beach. I met a girl. She was from Youngstown, Ohio. We got married. I wanted to be a police officer. I went to the Ohio Police Academy, but when I graduated there, I had also signed up for the Pittsburgh Police Department, and they called me. And I was being offered jobs in Ohio, but when Pittsburgh calls, man, it's the big city. I want to go to the big city. So coming to Pittsburgh, I was like, oh, Pirates are good. We got Barry Bonds, and it's going to be awesome. And they just tried to get into the World Series championship against Atlanta. And I moved here, and they never went back. It's my fault. I'm sorry, Pittsburgh. I didn't mean to bring this tragic series of failure to the Pirates, but here I am, hoping that Skeens is the cusp of a new build, and before I have to leave Pittsburgh, we get to see some playoff baseball.
It sounds like you've got hope for our sports teams.
I do.
Do you have similar hope for our Pittsburgh Police Department?
I do, because I can see it. Once you get involved here politically, it's no longer the absolute right and wrong. When we're police officers, we go through the police academy. We're trained in specific areas when it comes to crime. We are well trained. The problem is the enforcement of that training. Our officers are trained, our leaders aren't. We don't have a leadership training program that is set up to ensure that our officers are utilizing the tools that we give them on the street. We need to bring people back. We need to make sure that our leaders are trained appropriately.
When you talk about our leaders, do you mean the folks in the mayor's office, or do you mean the folks in charge at the Bureau of Police?
That's two-part. Yes.
Yes, and?
From my perspective, if I'm the mayor, that's going to change from the mayor's office, that leadership prospect. But that's different than the law enforcement edge. There's a lot that goes into that. There's a lot more because of the responsibility that's weighed upon our police officers. And
someone can be a great patrol officer, but not necessarily need to be anyone's manager.
Absolutely. It's figuring out what somebody's good at and where they're going to fit. Everybody coming in wants to either be in SWAT or be in undercover narcotics. It's just the thing. I would tell these young officers, everybody wants to do this, but do the job first. Before you start thinking about really what you want to do this job. It takes 5 years of doing something on a regular basis to become an expert at that. People decide once they start doing this work that they're good at domestic violence help or missing persons or sexual assault. It takes a little while to do the job and then figure out where you fit best. Some officers want to do traffic work. It's just figuring out what you're good at and then pursuing that aspect. If you're not good at police work, how do you get promoted? Well, there comes the favoritism and nepotism part. And that's the issue I have with current police work right now. We're doing police work by policy and not by law or rules and regulations. That creates confusion with the police officer. The police officer swears to uphold the Constitution and all the laws in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Then when you come to the city and you start doing police work, they have policies that go against what you've been taught about enforcing the law. So there's a confusion. How do you judge a police officer for promotion if they can't do police work at its most natural, highest order? You start judging police work by favoritism.
Is that what you think is happening?
I know that's what's happening.
In the Bureau or
Yes.
in the mayor's office?
I could see what's happening in the mayor's office, and that's all political action. But in the police department, I know absolutely this is what's going on. And that's why I say, if you want to know about a police officer that is, when you want to make leaders and you need to have a leadership model to put out the effort of policing in communities and how we do that, I want to look at that police officer's resume before they got promoted. How they get promoted in the city of Pittsburgh is an anomaly because all you have to do is take a test.
And if you pass the test, you get the promotion.
You get it. We don't have a matrix of leadership that provides for police officers who are experts at their job now teaching and leading other police officers in a way that respects the fact that a police officer in the United States of America, no matter if it's big city or small town, has more power and authority than anybody else in the world. We can take your freedom without asking anybody. And we have the ability to take a life without asking anybody. That's a lot. And that changes lives, and we need to respect that. So if you're not doing the job at its base core from the beginning, how can you now become a leader in the police department when there's young officers on the street encountering things that they've never experienced, and now they're calling for help, and the supervisors that are showing up have no idea how to do that? And that's what we're witnessing right now. And I'm going through this in real time because I'm talking about these things openly, and police officers don't like to have people talk about them that way. I know these people. I worked with them.
They like to talk about the problems amongst themselves, but they don't need anybody else airing their potential issues out loud.
Well, they don't like criticism.
Fair enough. I mean, let's stay on this thread of police here. How many officers do you think that the city should have? Because that's been up for debate quite a lot over the last 5-6 years at this point.
There's two answers for that for me. One is I know that we're able to complete the task at its minimum with 1,000 officers.
And right now, roll call is around 600 when you factor in leaves and supervisors and things like that.
We're barely at 600. But 1,000 officers makes it run smooth to where we can handle all the events that are going on, that officers can get the rest that they need. I would like to see 2 police officers at all times in every situation. Not only is it a safety issue, it's an accountability issue. If we do that, it might mean more officers, but I believe we're going to get a better outcome and a product in our city, and people will appreciate what they're seeing rather than fighting against what they're seeing.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking, so that's a lot of hiring. That also means keeping the folks that we currently have on the ranks. I mean, what would your approach be to getting more people to serve?
Recruiting. Everybody.
And they've been talking about recruiting for a long time. What would you do different?
It's where they recruit from. So what is police work? Police work is service. We need to go to the places of service, the people that want to be police officers. It's not that people don't want to serve in law enforcement. They just don't want to do it in a place where they see that they're not going to be supported. It's very taxing.
So like college campuses, or
when you have people that are learning the law, when you have people that are learning social work, when you have folks that are learning civil engineering, all of those things have one thing in common, and that's the rule of order. There's a certain structure that has to be followed for these things to be successful. And you have to have people there to enforce those rules and regulations and laws. So when you're recruiting, you go to those places of service that are attracting that kind of attitude, and you want to bring them into law enforcement. And one of the first things is how they get paid. Pay is always an issue. I'll pay them more. But where you find the people of service is where we need to go to. And that's what I intend on doing.
Kind of sounds like you're talking about shaking up the entire command staff.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. When you imagine that, like, where would a chief come from then? Are you thinking internal, external? You know, I saw at a recent debate, you were talking about how the next chief has to be in tune with communities. If they're going to know Pittsburgh, that sounds like maybe internal.
Yeah, bringing somebody from completely the outside of Pittsburgh creates a learning curve. They're going to have to figure out what's going on in their communities. And that takes, we've already established professionally that there's a time frame that it takes to become an expert, to become good at what you do. Think about bringing a chief of police that's in charge of the entire city and 1,000 officer workforce and having to first learn what they're dealing with, then the history of why they're dealing with it, and come in and try to make every effort to perform your job from that point of view. It's going to take a while. I believe that there are officers currently working or that have left the city of Pittsburgh Police Department to go on to other places that are going to be very well suited to be the chief of police. Who that is, I don't know, because there is no leadership matrix in the city of Pittsburgh. There's no identification on who's good at what. Right now, it's just random. However it comes, we have to deal with what we're looking at because there is no leadership structure as far as who's making the decisions. It's favoritism at best. There is no measure there. A civil service test is not indicative of a officer's ability to interact in a community. In the same way, a history of a lot of arrests doesn't mean that that person is able to engage in their community.
Would you also support then changing the disciplinary structure so that when someone does have an issue, sometimes over and over and over again, because we have had those officers in the past, what would you like to come from that?
It's accountability.
Would you support removing an officer?
Oh, absolutely. When people call 911, it's the worst thing that's ever happened to them.
And a lot of people don't necessarily trust that if they make that call that they're going to get the help that they want.
Well, police officers cause that problem. We need to interact with people on a more personal level, even though we're acting in the law enforcement angle. The number one complaint through the Civilian Review Board, it's how the police officer treated them.
Was the police officer rude to them?
Yes.
Through the course of the policing?
Absolutely. Just treated horribly. I personally can attest to that because after I retired from the police department, I have not had one pleasant interaction with any police officer I've interacted with. They have all been rude to me. I don't tell people who I am. I know these young officers probably have no idea who I am. I don't say, well, I'm retired police. I just go about the business of why you're dealing with me. And they have been just curt and rude, and it's just not a good experience. And I've always said this, but now being on the other side, I realize we need to have a class on customer service. I don't care what's going. You know, there's part of that is trauma that officers experience.
Well, they're trained to expect the worst.
But it doesn't matter. You have to tell somebody, I'm here for your service, and make them believe that because it's necessary to get where you need to go. The first expression of trauma in a police officer is irritation. That's how it comes out. All the PTSD they've experienced, but you have to go to the next call and look at that person doesn't know where you just came from. You have to give them every part of you in the best way to make that moment easier for them. I know why officers are being assholes to me. They're just irritated with all of it. They don't need to know who I am. They repeatedly they go through the minutia of 911, knowing that in a snap moment, they're going to be in this life-changing incident. And they know that because it happens over and over again. You can't fix that. What you try to do is manage what goes on and make sure that you're present and you're responsive to the needs of the people that you're talking to.
Today's episode is supported in part by the Pittsburgh Opera. If you have been looking to dip into the world of opera, the perfect performance is coming up. The Pittsburgh Opera is putting on Puccini's La Bohème at the Benedum Center, and the show opens this coming Saturday. It is a passionate love story between the seamstress Mimi and the poet Rodolfo, and of course it is set in Paris, the perfect setting for this. And while you're at the theater, you will feel all the feels. The show is going to make you laugh and also bring you to tears because the music is just so captivating and the story is absolutely riveting. This is a really timeless performance, and the opera actually inspired the musical Rent, so if you're a fan of that, definitely grab your seat at La Boheme. Tickets start at just $20, and the performances run from October 18th through the 26th. There's even free childcare at the Sunday matinee, so if that sweetens the deal, definitely make sure to book that in advance. Learn more at pittsburghopera.org/citycast.
The picketers who stand outside Planned Parenthood health centers are bullies, plain and simple. They try to shame healthcare providers and volunteers and shame patients. They also spread lies and misinformation. More than 3,300 picketers stand outside Planned Parenthood of Western Pennsylvania health centers each year. Well, October is National Bullying Prevention Month, so let's do something about it. This fall, PPWP is relaunching the Pledge a Picketer program, the easiest way to fight back directly against every one of these protesters outside. You select a monthly gift level, which is based on the number of picketers outside PPWP health centers. And for 1 year, you've ensured that every anti-abortion extremist outside also helps keep Planned Parenthood open. It's the perfect way to stand up to bullies compromising access to healthcare. Join the PPWP Pledge a Picketer program and be part of this powerful direct response to extremist attacks on healthcare. Visit bit.ly/PPWPCitycast. That's bit.ly/PPWPCitycast.
Hi, I'm Michael Ziviak, Chief Revenue Officer of CityCast. Why do most of us want to learn a new language? It's because we want to speak it out in the real world with real people. Babbel gets you there fast. My daughter's a senior in high school, and after she graduates, we're taking a father-daughter trip to Spain. I know, she's spoiled, but that's on me. I'll be honest, my Spanish right now is pretty much tops out at ¿Dónde está la biblioteca? But when we get there, I want to actually talk to people, order food, and really connect with the locals, not just stumble through the basics. That's why I'm starting with Babbel. Learning a language with Babbel is all about small steps, big wins, and progress you can actually track and feel. And with how busy things get here at CityCast, I love that Babbel's bite-sized, 10-minute lessons fit perfectly into my day, whether it's between meetings or while I'm having coffee in the morning. I'm really excited to start picking up real-world Spanish before our trip so we can experience Spain in a more meaningful way. Right now, Babbel has a special deal for our listeners. Get up to 55% off your subscription at babbel.com/citycast. That's BABBEL.com/citycast for up to 55% off. Rules and restrictions may apply. Gracias and adios.
So, Mr. Moreno, let's talk about the rest of the city. What do you think is Pittsburgh's biggest opportunity right now? And what would you try to do to harness it?
Responsible AI.
Really?
Responsible AI.
You were the first one to say that.
This is going to be the renaissance of the tri-state area in the city of Pittsburgh. It is going to be 10 times what steel was in the 1800s. We are in a position where this technology is exploding. It is growing faster than they can keep up with. But that needs energy, resources. So what's necessary for data storage, data mining, advanced intelligence technology is power and cooling. Water is a big issue. You have to be near a source of water. So when you look at the 62nd Street Bridge, if you're coming across it into the city, if you look down to the right, there used to be a big warehouse there where the train would come in. Right next to that plot of land is a oil and gas storage facility. The railroad tracks are right below it. The river is right there. Mm-hmm. If you can do this correctly, you use the water to cool the centers. You use the energy to power them. You attach that energy to the water system we have. Right now, we have a big problem with keeping our water clean. That's a problem. That's a huge problem. We don't address it enough. My environmentalism is real. I'm an outdoorsman. I hunt, I fish, but I respect it. You have to preserve those things. When we talk about this new renaissance with advanced technology, we need to utilize the rivers to have this happen. We can include hydrogen research by using this natural gas energy to have these data centers run. We can develop that faster. The wealth that is being presented is going to transform Pittsburgh. When you put those centers here, people are going to come here to be involved in this, to be a part of it, from the highest level of technology to the most needed level of building maintenance. That's going to be the way that Pittsburgh changes.
How do you think you would be able to help the city grow?
Oh, well, if you're not from Pittsburgh and you're coming from an outside coming in, what do they look for? They look at the crime rate and how successful their schools are. And then if they're satisfied with those, they look at the tax rate. But if you're moving, you kind of have an expectation that where you're coming from and where you're going is going to change a little bit. But when you look at the crime rates in the city of Pittsburgh, they're horrible. And then you look at the school production, and it's horrible.
I would actually argue that our crime rate is difficult to ascertain at the moment. Now, you have a different perspective, of course, but like when I'm looking it up, which I've done a lot lately, like I cannot see a clear picture as to what our crime statistics are right now, in part because the only thing available on the city's dashboard right now is 2024. That's it. And what's available for 2025, the first 3 months or so, is a different measure. So one of them is by reports and the other one is by charges. And it is impossible to compare that apples to apples. I have no idea what crime looks like in Pittsburgh right now.
And that's wrong. We hide that. And I don't know why. We should be able to see it. I don't care if it's bad news. We pay for body cameras. We pay for body cameras to hold the police officers that are doing police work accountable for their actions. 95% of the time you're going to see a police officer doing exactly what they're paid to do. There'll be a percentage of the time where they do something that is not right, but we should be able to see that immediately.
So I hear you when you say, crime is a big reason why maybe the city is not growing at the rate it needs to. What else do you think could use some attention, and how maybe can we convince folks who already do live here not to leave?
Crime's a problem, but that's not why people are coming. Jobs. This needs the workforce here is struggling. You're either at the highest end of the eds and meds, and even in the med section, you could be a RN, a licensed, trained nurse, and you're still struggling because you're not getting paid what other places do. Pittsburgh's particular. People stay here even though there's better opportunities because they love Pittsburgh. Mm-hmm. It's a dedication that a lot of areas don't realize.
Do you think that loyalty holds people back?
That loyalty allows for the people who run the city to take advantage of the city.
I mean, if you were to be successful, both in May 20 and then again in November, how would you try to save or make the city some more money?
First, be transparent and accountable. We can't deal with what's happened already. All we can do.
You will. Whoever's mayor will have to deal with what's happened already.
You're going to have to. And the way I look at it is, we can blame a bunch of people, but that's all we do now. We just blame everybody. We go about our business and nothing gets fixed. Make sure it doesn't happen again and start going forward and be transparent with how we're spending your money.
Can you imagine that a tax increase could be on the table for you?
I don't see any reason why we would need a tax increase. There's enough money out there. It's just being misspent. It's being mishandled.
What about your approach maybe to some of the nonprofits in town? You know, we hear our elected leaders talk about the big four, sometimes the big five. That's CMU, Pitt, Allegheny Health Network. You were doing a little dance, sir.
Yeah.
And UPMC. Do you think you would have a plan to bring them to the table?
I do have a plan.
What's your plan?
Getting our nonprofits to participate in how we live our lives in the city. It's this strange fight, but now that I'm involved and I'm looking at it, I know why they're not giving them money. It's because they know they're just going to squander it. They're already receiving these services. There's nothing that we can do about it.
That's what I've talked to a few of your fellow candidates about, is like, what's the incentive for them?
Yeah. Well, back to the nerdy part of me. I'm researching our budget, and there's one line in our budget, one line item, just one, through the whole 60-page budget, I think. And it says payment for services in lieu of taxes. So I go and I meet with Michael Lamb.
That was our city controller.
He was our controller. I was asking him a question about something completely different, but it was my opportunity to say, hey, because I printed out, I said, what is this? He goes, oh, that's St. Margaret's. I went, St. Margaret's? So there's a format for the nonprofits to pay the city of Pittsburgh for services in lieu of taxes. He said, yeah.
I mean, I think we've had pilots before. The problem is that they're not longstanding, they're not large enough, and they're not what some political leaders argue is a fair amount.
I don't know what those pilots are. I know that there is one budgeted line that is actionable, and they've agreed to it. This isn't something that was put upon them. This was an agreement that's budgeted. This comes in every year. Whatever that model is can be laid out across the city and used as a fulcrum.
Yeah, and I think that at least that's what I've heard most of our elected leaders talk about wanting to do. But like, what would you want to get out of it? Is there a dollar goal that you would like to see from them?
Here's my approach. You use that model and apply it to all the properties for all the nonprofits, and you bring that number, and that's going to be in the hundreds of millions of dollars. Take that dollar amount and say, we're not going to ask you, we're not bringing legal action, we're not going to try to make you pay this. This is the agreement I would like. This is where you can become a part of our community, and you can give back, and we're going to give you all the ability to take advantage of what you're doing and promote yourself in being a community member. The city of Pittsburgh spends about $40 million, some up, some down, depending on the year, on healthcare. We are self-insured, but we have to pay for that, and those are the agreements we have. First thing is, I want all the medical nonprofits to provide healthcare to our city employees. The baseline should be covered by them. We pay $40 million. That's a drop in the bucket. The current administration turned down $40 million from UPMC alone. And that nowhere near comes to what they should be paying overall. But I don't want all of that money. I don't need all of that money, and I'm never going to get it. But what I want you to do is provide training for the things that we need to have to build the city going forward. If we want to have housing rebuilt in our communities, and we have these dilapidated houses, we don't want to tear them down because we're taking away the ability for people to live where they want to and can afford. We can train people from the community to do these trades. There's a plumbing trade center over in the West End. That could be the Allegheny Health Network Trades Training Center. So we're training plumbers, we're training carpenters, we're training electricians in our communities. Then the city could be providing properties that have been dilapidated. We can get the tool maker, the Makita. Makita provides all the tools. The companies that make the PVC piping, they donate that because they know that they're now going to request that. We get 84 Lumber to say, hey, give us a good deal on lumber so we can rehab these houses, and we're going to put your brand name on it. You did this for our community. We get everybody working that way. Not only do they profit because they get advertising and they get the ability to say, we're giving back and this is how we're producing in the city of Pittsburgh. City of Pittsburgh also thrives now because people are going to want to come to work for the city. We're able to pay them and provide them with health care. And now we're building for the people in the communities so they can stay here and live.
So you're talking about like a lot of partnership agreements kind of built over time.
They'll do it. When they can see the advantage of them giving money to the city to provide for the community growth, they'll do that.
Is that something you can see yourself trying to lead as mayor, or hiring folks to help you kind of strategize and build those conversations?
I would absolutely lead right from the front. I don't know who I would trust to bring this message because it seems so simple, but they don't want to give money knowing that if it goes in the general fund, they're just going to waste it and they're going to come back and ask for more money. That it's going to be a constant. I want them to be a part of our growth, and we don't need to demand anything. We need you. We need them to be a part. They don't have to, but I want to make it attractive. Give them something in order for them to give back.
Well, let's move on to schools. You mentioned that as like one of the primary reasons why you feel like maybe the city's not growing, why people aren't staying. What would you like to see done from the mayor's office to make the city school system a little bit better, more robust? You define what success looks like for you.
My kids went to city schools. My son went to Alderdice, and my daughter went to Career Connections Charter School in Lawrenceville. They both graduated, and they're both very successful in their lives. Schooling back in the 90s still had value in the public schools, and there still is value there. We're not performing.
So what do you think the mayor's office can do to affect change?
It's very difficult because the school district's budget is almost equal to the city's budget. The mayor has zero input to the school district.
Yeah, it's mostly the school board.
My problem is families aren't going to come here. They're not going to move here because of the schools. So when your failing production in our city schools affects people coming to the city of Pittsburgh, that affects me as the mayor. We have to do something there. What that something is, I don't know, because there's no conversations that are going on between the mayor's office and the Pittsburgh School District about this particular topic.
Would you like to be more involved in those conversations if you're successful?
There is no conversations that go on there. There's no actions that go on there. I don't know why. I don't have that answer. All I know is they talk about it, but nothing changes. Everybody seems to be okay with this performance level, and it's not okay. It's there's nothing productive coming out of this. We're failing our kids.
What about transit? You know, Pittsburgh Regional Transit is a county authority, but, you know, obviously the city of Pittsburgh is heavily affected by its success. Do you think that Pittsburgh can grow without a robust public transit system? And I'm wondering, you know, would you want to be involved in advocating on its behalf as well?
Well, no, they can't grow without it. That we have marketed ourselves as a city right now that is going to be open towards people living where they can utilize public transit and public spaces to get to all the places that they want to be. They particularly target our city in this area for those reasons, in much of the same way that people are attracted to New York. They want to live that lifestyle. People that don't want to live that lifestyle, they go move out to Cranberry, where they can buy a big old plot of land and do their thing. The city of Pittsburgh is a mixed bag that way. There's people that want to live that downtown lifestyle, and there's people that are forced to live that lifestyle.
Did you use public transit? I know obviously you had a police car for a lot of your career, but
no, never. I never took a bus to school. I rode a bike.
Yeah.
If I wasn't driving somewhere, I was riding my bike. I used to ride. my then wife and I, every Sunday, we would ride from Morningside all the way down to the Strip District, and we would shop at the market, bag up some food, and go. Nobody talked about any of this then. This is just what we did. This is how we lived our lives. I wanted to live my life that way, so I did. When somebody's forced to live their life that way, it affects everything. If you live in the Hill District in Bedford dwellings and you're relying on the bus to get to the job that you need to survive, and now they're threatening to reduce the hours and routes that people rely on to live their lives, that is an absolute crime from the point of view of the elected officials. It doesn't matter what you're doing. When you made these promises to folks and they built their life around this, that there was going to be public transit, there was going to be availability for you to move about your community, and that's just not right. That needs to be a very secure, solid thing. As much as you turning on your tap water, you need to be able to know that you're going to be able to get where you were promised to go. And that's our tax dollars at work. I don't care if it's the state and county funding that's there. We need to fight for those things. For the city of Pittsburgh, all we can do is advocate for our residents. But what we can do is, if there's a bus shelter that's been targeted, saying that there's enough people that use the bus here and this should have a shelter, we need to build bus shelter. We should have seats and shelters and trash cans at every bus stop. I mean, it's why does anybody have to stand around and do that? We need to find the money and make sure those things are taken care of. We need to make sure that Port Authority is patrolling our bus stops, because bus stops are also attractors to people that aren't using the bus.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of riders that agree with a lot of what you're saying. Let's switch gears a little bit and talk about how Pittsburgh has been trying to weather some of the changes at the federal level, some of the policies that have come down. I'm wondering who you voted for in the most recent presidential election.
Donald Trump.
Do you feel good about that now? Because you ran as a Democrat
it's a
once.
question.
You ran as a Democrat 4 years ago, lost, and then switched your party affiliation to a Republican.
Yeah. I go back to the days where we were so fed up with government. We were like, why can't we just get a business person in here? I'm a West Coast guy. I'm an LA person. I'm not an East Coast person. Our personalities clash. Donald Trump is New York. That's why I know people don't like his presentation. They don't like his presence. When it comes to leaders, I don't care if I like you or not. That doesn't come. Nobody liked George Patton, but without General George Patton, we don't win World War II.
With so much respect, I don't think Donald Trump and General George Patton are the same people.
No, not at all. It's what I'm saying is the presentation of the person to their outcomes. I know there's massive disarray right now because of the actions that are happening. I believe these actions are necessary to bring things back in order. I'm hoping, I can't say, what I do is I rely on the ability for Americans to sustain no matter what happens politically. We've always come out on top. We suffer, but we are always making sure that we are better. What has happened globally is a problem for me. I don't like how we have become slaves to other countries. This drastic measure that President Trump is doing is tough, but it's happening, and I believe the outcomes are going to be better for us than worse. We are really not suffering any more than what we did during the heart of COVID right now. There's a fluctuation in what's going on.
But there's no active pandemic raging right now.
Absolutely. But we still have a financial turmoil that's going on. I believe that they're taking actions to straighten out what's going on as far as our tax dollars are concerned.
But I think the fear that a lot of voters are feeling in this moment is, yes, efficiencies can be found, and that's fine. But cutting without taking the time to understand some of these positions, some of these jobs, some of these agencies, whole cloth, is a scary prospect. And even when they walk it back, that is a very expensive thing to do, to turn something off and then turn it back on.
It's unsettling.
As a mayor, what would you do to try, I mean, as a person who voted for him as well, because it sounds like you still have faith in the administration, what would you say to someone who is scared in this moment? What could you say as a mayor?
First, the President of the United States isn't doing anything for the city of Pittsburgh. It doesn't matter who it is. They aren't coming in and correcting the problems in the city of Pittsburgh.
They aren't, but there's federal funding. There's, the mission that you talk about as well.
There's a lot, but if we were settled and producing as a city, and we were taking care of ourselves, and we were growing, and we were doing the things necessary to not have to beg for additional federal funding, the federal funding has to be here for our infrastructure. There are just certain things that need to be taken care of on a governmental level. And it's not just bridges, but it's in how we live our lives. Those things are going to happen. And it doesn't matter who the president is. It's going to continue that way.
Well, I think we've counted on it continuing that way, but there is fear now that it might not.
Yes. But that's where the leadership from the city's perspective comes in. Why is a mayor trying to stand up to the president when all the mayor has to do is take care of his city? If you spend your money correctly, we are going to succeed and grow no matter what the federal government's doing. If we're succeeding and growing, it doesn't matter what they do.
And to be clear, I'm not asking what you would say to the president. I mean, what would you say to a voter that's maybe seeing the news and feeling the effects of some of this? What would your message be to them?
Support the city of Pittsburgh. Focus everything that we're doing here. Take care of here. It's like the whole airplane adage. Something happens and those things fall from the ceiling, the oxygen mask, they tell you put yours on first because you can't help the person next to you if you pass out because you don't have air. If we take care of ourselves, what the federal government does doesn't matter.
I feel like that's not the best example, though, because planes actually have been falling out of the sky lately. So it's another thing to be afraid of.
It's the example I give. It's the most true example of taking care of us first. How do I guess how would we settle as a community if I were the mayor right now? How do I prevent people from being afraid of these cuts because I'm the Republican candidate and I want Donald Trump to succeed in these actions? I want them to come out on the positive end. I want my representative, no matter who it is, to be that. And I'm going to make sure that I do everything, no matter who it is, they get all of me. Even if I don't agree with certain aspects, I'm still in service to them. I might not agree with it, but I can find successes in everybody. God, I want it to work. And I don't care if I'm the Republican winner of and historically in the city of Pittsburgh, I don't care about that.
Do you think that this could be the moment? I mean, Republicans did very, very well in the nation and in Pennsylvania. Now, that wasn't a 1-to-1 here in Allegheny County. Democrats still prevailed overall in quite a few races, but we have not had Republican leadership in the mayor's office here in Pittsburgh in almost a century. Do you think that this could be your moment?
The timing's right for it. I mean, just given politically what's going on in the city of Pittsburgh, all we see is failures from every end. There's not one Republican we can point at and say, this is your fault that's happened in the city of Pittsburgh, or you're responsible for any of it. Now, that being said, I am in no way, shape, or form saying that the Republican Party is going to come in and fix this, because I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to tell everybody that hears this, there is not very much difference between the political avenues of the Democrat Party and the Republican Party. They operate under the same premises, and those operations aren't to the benefit of the people they serve. It's an aggravation that I had to learn. I am not a political person, although I had to learn the political process, because I realized that was the only way to make the changes necessary to make our lives better. They're completely, the politicians in the world are failed people. My Democrat opponents are yelling at each other about who took Donald Trump money. Nobody asked the Republican how much Donald Trump money I got. I got nothing.
I was about to say, actually, we have asked everybody. Have you personally gotten any donations that you didn't feel good about?
No.
Have
you know who gives me money?
Have you returned any money?
No.
Who donates to you?
Just people, regular people. The people who are donating to me are the ones that I coach their kids in baseball.
So final pitch then. Why do you think that you are ready to lead Pittsburgh right now?
I'm the only one who'll do it. I'm the only one who's going to be honest to you. I'm going to be the only one who's going to show exactly how I'm spending your money. I'm going to be the only one. I am the only one without pause who's going to make all of these things that we don't know going on transparent. I'm the only one that's going to come in and say, we are failing here and this is why, and you are publicly going to see the correction. I am the only one who knows how to fix it and who has the ability and the will to fix it, to show it. They don't want to do that. They all have something that they have to hide behind or campaign for. It's not like one candidate has $1 million and the other candidate doesn't have 750,000. They have a lot of money. That's because they had to make promises. Their message doesn't cure the problems. Everybody says the Republican doesn't have money. I don't have money. That should tell you something. All I have is my message. And my message comes from being in the street and working in this community, understanding how our decisions affect the people on the street. Why are there people living in planters and dying on bike paths, overdosing without any help? Why? Because we don't have anybody that lives in that area. I spent my career doing that. I know who's suffering. I know how much money, now that I've become political, I know where that money is. It's there. They are hiding it from us, and they're using it for their benefit, and it pisses me off to no end. It makes me so mad that the answer is there, they know it, and they don't do it. It's because they have something to lose. And I'm standing right in front of them saying, it doesn't have to be this way, Pittsburgh. I'll protect you. I won't steal your money. I'll help us grow. Just give me the opportunity. I'm here to serve the city of Pittsburgh. And I know these answers can be solved. I mean, these answers are there to be had. Just do it. If I don't win, the fact that I'm challenging them, if that makes them change their direction, then I succeeded. That's a win to me. And that's what I'm asking for. That's why I want people to vote for me, because I want to serve you.
Tony Moreno, thank you so much.
Thank you for the time. I appreciate it. You have no idea how much I enjoy this. Thank you from my heart.
That is all for today here on CityCast Pittsburgh. One update since this conversation: Pittsburgh Regional Transit will not be cutting any bus routes for now. They're using state funds that were supposed to go towards infrastructure projects. And since this is not a permanent solution, all those questions about transit and growth are still really important to consider. You can tune in to yesterday's show to hear my conversation with Democrat Corey O'Connor. We will be back tomorrow with more from around the city. We'll talk to you soon.
I want to be SWAT, and I'm going to ride a motorcycle like Chips, and all the things that are sexy on TV or in the movies.
I don't know that anyone thinks Chips is sexy, sir.
Oh, come on, man. Wait a minute.
Stay on.
Eric Estrada on a motorcycle.
I don't think you're helping your cause on recruiting young people right now.
I'm just saying.